Hello and welcome to a very special episode of WTF's AuDHD with late diagnosed sisters Ellie and Paige. We were diagnosed late.
And we're here to educate. Damn, I was going to see if you could do it.
Yeah, today we've got a very special guest with us. This is our dear father, Grant. Hello, Grant.
Hi, Ellie. Hi, Reggie. Paige.
Hello, Marja.
Hello, Faja.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great privilege to be here. I could have actually finished the line, of course, but I didn't know whether that would be a dicky thing to do.
No, it's funny.
Do it. Be who you want.
And we're here to educate. Yes. Very good.
So Dad is here with us to chat because Dad, you're actually the reason that we ended up getting diagnosed originally. I just want to clear that up because I think some people are assuming that you were diagnosed after us, which is quite common. It's quite common that the kids get diagnosed and then the parents get diagnosed.
Yeah.
But in our case, it was actually the other way round because our mum...
She was fed up.
She was fed up. Yeah, after we left home, she sort of started thinking, well, we kind of always thought you might be ADHD, but we'll get into that soon. But you were actually diagnosed before we were, and then that's why Paige then got diagnosed and then I got diagnosed.
Yes.
So you have been diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 58. So that's actually quite a late diagnosis. And we want to chat to you about what it was like growing up not diagnosed, especially in your era, which was the 60s, 70s, 80s.
And today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And today.
Sorry. The Kiwis will get that. Right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
nice. And we just want to hear about your journey, what it's been like post-diagnosis. We've got some listener questions that people want to ask. So do you want to just start off by introducing yourself? What are your favorite hobbies or things you like doing so people can get to know you?
Yeah, no, that's a good idea because there's a lot of questions in there that would be interesting perhaps to delve into. But no, who am I? So I grew up in Hawke's Bay, one of 4 children. Hawke's Bay in the east coast of New Zealand. I loved my sport and I loved particularly things like sport because it's just action, and didn't really like school at all. I couldn't really work out school. I couldn't concentrate really. But I was sort of popular at school amongst people because I was a nice person. You know, I meant no harm to no one, even if, I know that's not a phrase, but even if I was so disruptive in the class.
Class clown.
Yeah, and the teachers kind of didn't know that, you know, really much about ADHD in 1970 or 62 was when I was born. So yeah, I grew up there, didn't really know anything much except I'd be called probably an extrovert, the class clown. I was always the one to stay the latest, pour the gins or rums stronger than anyone else. Everything was kind of noisy, extreme, loud. Everything was a hit. Every day had to be a hit of some sort, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you go to the bar, give me the big beer, not the small beer. That's a bit reflective. I know now that that's relevant. I just thought that was me being a drunkard. No.
Yeah. You didn't realize at the time that you wanted it all. You wanted it loud all the time. It's very sensory seeking, very dopamine seeking.
Yes.
But you didn't know that at the time.
That's right.
Until now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't stop to educate. And I mean, I didn't stop to learn at school. I couldn't anyway. It was just, it would blur in about 5 minutes, even if I did try and concentrate.
Yeah.
Same, Dad.
Yeah. And I know that, look, a lot of things that happened to me, really, I've listened to, you know, some of your work and of course you've experienced the same thing. But yeah, so just a musician as well. Like I saw a person at high school playing the guitar and I'm like, man, I want to play the guitar. And it wasn't until I did that, and that gave me the ability, therefore, to what I know now as stimming, but it was actually strumming. But you know, but that's the same thing. It's action.
It is.
It's your hands are doing something, your voice is doing something.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't a great musician, again, because I can't study.
But why did you say that? That's not true.
You are a great musician.
See, there's imposter syndrome coming in.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You are a great musician.
Oh, thank you,
I think
Mum.
it's hard when you had a sister and a brother, actually, who were very high up in the music industry in New Zealand.
Yes.
It was like Paige with athletics. She was really good. I was good, but then she made me look shit. But actually, I was all right. Same with you with your music. Like, you are amazing, but yeah, you just had
it's a comparison.
famous siblings that were in other bands that the world kind of knew of, but you are a very good musician.
Thanks. So just on that, I think Justin, younger brother, great musician, went to the world and globally some of the highest honours in music or bands anyway. he did have a different ability to me. He was more, now I would call him kind of almost or more autistic, where he could focus for 2 years. And he did once, he said, he was a very good bass player from about the age of 17 or 18. He decided to just knuckle down at about 6 hours a day for about 2 years, play the bass. By 20, he was bought by the Chills in New Zealand to get to London overnight, and away he went with his bass career. I looked at that and said, hey, I'm playing the guitar you as well, buddy, the 6 string. Like, man, how did I not ascend like that? Well, what he was able to do was focus and absolutely stay on task.
Yeah.
And yet we look at him now and he's a genius, you know, and Debbie, again, you know, she's highly intelligent, so she's very much like you, Ellie. Not that you're not intelligent, Paige.
No,
but I get it.
No.
I know what you mean.
Different types. The thing is that you say it in this podcast before, you get away with so much because, you know, you have a photographic memory almost. You get through the lesson in 10 minutes instead of 20 minutes. You can retain it and bring it back. You're tart. I can't, you know.
Yeah. Even if I'm bored, I can kind of make myself remember it just for a short amount of time.
Yes. So my sister Debbie is a good musician, and she could study. She could, you know, do that. And older brother, you know, he's an achiever as well. So everyone in our family, we kind of set our minds to things we can do it.
Yeah.
But I was actually what you'd call kind of the black sheep, but that meant no harm. And I think a lot of people will recognise, I'm sure, that you might be the disruptive person, you might be the guy that flunks out of school, but actually you don't go around murdering people. You actually love people, and you love, you can have fun. It's just a different type of fun. You're not going to concentrate on fun.
Yeah.
You know, I can play Snap with cards, but bugger any other card game that takes concentration, right?
Oh my God, I know. When someone's explaining a card game to you, I'm just like,
yeah. And next thing sort of think, okay, I'll just watch.
Yeah. I have to do like 10 rounds of practice to actually start getting it.
Yeah.
That's me growing up. But I just wanted to also, can I just say, well done on the work you're doing, the podcast. When I listen and listen to your listeners writing in, I think, oh my God, you're helping people, and you set out to just be, you know, people that have experienced something. Others could learn from your experience. You're not doctors, as you said about 28 times in the last episode. It's just, I'm so proud of you. Obviously, I'm your dad, and it's just wonderful how this has come about.
Thank you.
Karen, Kazza, your mum, my wife, wonderful woman, did actually send me to the doctor. She downloaded that sheet off the internet, which is about 18 questions.
The screener.
Didn't she like slam it in front of you?
No. Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, not in a bad way, but she was like, right.
I think this might be you, you know. But anyway, it said that if you get 11 out of 18 or above 11, you better go and see your doctor. Well, I got 19 out of 18. You know? and anyway, she's like, right, I knew it, you know.
Yeah.
But that was 30 years of marriage were just over, and
the kids had left home.
I think that was a massively important moment where suddenly there's no activities getting you to all different events that you did, etc., focusing on you. This is what parents do.
Yeah.
You weren't surviving anymore.
Yeah, well, then we had sort of time, and so therefore all the characteristics of, you know, ADHD really come to the fore, and they affect someone that's actually, you know, having to organise you. And I'll give you an example. This morning, I had an appointment to go to from home, and I'm sitting there clacking away at my keyboard. Just clear this one email, this one more email. Not that I'm good at that, but there were emails I had to do. And Karen's like, you better get ready. And so her life has been, Grant, you're going to be late. And then next thing, I'm running around like a mad ass. And then tonight when I was coming over, I had to leave work to come and meet you. I'm on a call at work, and the phone rings, and it's Karen, and I couldn't answer it, so I ring her back and go, you were ringing to say you better be packing your stuff to go and see the girls to do your podcast, right?
Yeah.
And she's had 35 years of that. Now, you know, you'll get to talk to her, I hope, on the podcast, and you know, she wouldn't have it any other way, but she wasn't just organising me in that time, she was also, before you left home, obviously having to do that. Less for you, Ellie, of course, more for you, Paigey.
Yeah.
You're more like me.
Yeah.
You're a big masker.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got the brains to get through it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thank you. Very proud. Yeah.
No, thank you, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
And thank you for your support too. Like, we're very lucky to have parents that are so empathetic and understanding, because I know there's a lot of people listening who don't know how to tell their parents they might have ADHD or autism.
Or they do when they get dismissed.
Yeah. So we're very lucky to have such nurturing parents who encourage us to get diagnoses in the first place.
Yes.
So thank you as well. And it's so nice to have you here. And I think we're only coming from quite a young lens. And so I'm really excited to be talking to you about what it's like to be in your 60s now, only diagnosed 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And I want to hear the difference between your life before and after, but I'll do more specific questions and stuff. Okay. So I was going to talk about, what your childhood was like, what your siblings were like, what your parental relationship with your parents was like.
Sure.
Do you want to go through a bit more of the dynamic of what you were like as a kid, and so people can get a picture of what you were like up until maybe the age of 25?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's photos of me when I was about 2 when I could walk, and my dad used to smoke a pipe, Rex, and everyone smoked in those days of that generation. And it's me pushing a pram with a pipe in my hand, and I'm barely able to walk. And so you look at that pipe and you go,
in your hand?
Sorry, in my mouth. And so, yeah. So,
how old were you?
Yeah, no, about 18 months, right?
And you're inhaling this shit?
No, it wasn't. Oh, sorry, it wasn't lit.
Oh,
Jesus.
Very important information.
See, this is classic ADHD, missing real key details.
Oh my God.
So true, isn't it?
Yeah,
Miss the detail that counts, right?
So the pipe's in your mouth, but it's not lit.
Sorry, yeah. And I used to run around the yard with this pram with a pipe in my mouth. Why do I have a pipe in my mouth?
Because it's something to do?
Because I don't think every other kid would pick up that pipe and have it in his mouth. And I think I'm emulating Dad, but it's also something else to actually.
It's a sensory seeking
thing. And so that's me at 18 months. Now, I was very unhappy as a baby, apparently. So I cried a lot. And I didn't know that till later on. And, just absolutely cried a lot, apparently. And I was very disruptive. I was sort of stuffed into rooms crying babies are very stressful.
So you were left to cry it out, kind of.
Toddlers are, yeah. But the thing is that from there on, at school, I couldn't sit on the mat, of course. I couldn't really concentrate. I had to do everything, even today at my age, as you know, everything's got to be a piece of humour because it's just too hard to concentrate. Why do the serious shit when there's a good joke to tell, right? So, but I was like that. And then, I just did the normal things like playing soccer and things that had action in them suited me fine. Things that, hey, it's soccer practice. Get out of the class, out of trying to concentrate on a blackboard, and get into the sports. And then did a lot of music way back. Lessons. Debbie and I were in the church choir, so Debbie certainly learned to sing really well from that. I did too. I'm not a great singer, but I could pitch. And Debbie will never miss pitch. And the thing is that we were that sort of family, just normal. The 10 years old, really my school marks would be D's and E's, if there was such a thing. And then, but what was happening was this, that Mark, older brother, and Debbie was older than me, 18 months. They were highly intelligent. Now, intelligence is a funny word. So these days I don't like using that at all.
No.
I'm not stupid.
No, you're not.
But I'm not academically capable, right?
School-wise, yeah.
Justin was also excellent. I mean, the three of them. So my mum worked at high school, Taradale High School in Hawke's Bay. She was the bursar there for, amongst other things, 25 years. And she didn't want me to go to that school because Mark and Debbie had set such a high standard. They both got, in those days, university accredited meant you didn't have to do the exams. You were just like, you can go to university. You're a scholar. Debbie did more school C subjects than everyone else just for a laugh. And then I was there sort of like flunking out of intermediate school. And there was a new school built close. Well, it wasn't that close. I had to ride to it through the snow with bare feet. But isn't
that the story? All the parents are I had to sail back in the seas to get to it. But it's kind of true, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what, I never got picked up. It was always on my bike, even in hurricane, whatever. Yeah. But no, that's okay. It's character building.
Yeah.
And then but I went to this different school because now people look at it now and go, oh, that's really mean. No, my mother was actually aware that I wasn't a bad person. I was just not going to, she didn't want the teachers at Taradale High School to think that I was just another Mark or Debbie when I'd actually be the one that disrupts the class. And that would be bad for me as well because they'd be like, who's this plonker after the two that you sent us, Isla? So people look at it now and think it's a bit mean. No, I was happy to go to a new school. Went to Tamati High School, and where my life changed was this. And I did want to. There's one thing I do want to say. I couldn't understand why I couldn't do most of the classes. Certainly maths I couldn't do.
Oh,
and I still can't do it. You know, I can with a calculator.
And we have one in our pocket now, don't we?
Or ChatGPT.
When the teacher used to pull that one, guys, you need to learn this stuff. You're not going to have a calculator in your back pocket. Well,
exactly. Exactly. But you know, what happened was I was in trouble a lot at school. I smoked from a very early age. I mean, again, just something that's more interesting in trying to get to school. Have a smoke before you go to school.
Yeah.
Drinking from an early age, and I've never stopped drinking. And I can see now why I like to do that. But you know, but at school I got to about the 5th form, and we didn't. I was just probably one of the worst students from an academic point of view. I'd disrupt most classes I was in. The thing is that when I got to the 5th form, for the first time in our school, we hadn't had music. We were a school that had the 3rd form, then the 4th. So these are whatever. Yeah, so you didn't have the seniors. You built the school from the lowest grade, and then as the next grade came up, you had 2 grades, etc.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the 5th, they introduced music into the school, and they did this screening across the whole school where they put. They did this exam on everyone. It was a lot to do with ear pitch, you know, which note's higher than the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the first ones would be, okay, the second one's lower, you know. You get to the 50th one and you can barely discern the difference. And I got 50 out of 50.
Nice.
And what happened was, and so, but I was the only one in the school that did, you know. And so the teachers come to us saying, oh my God, you got 50 out of 50. And I'm like, yeah, really? You know, and by then I'd been playing the recorder, which is a joke. But actually, I did quite a lot of, we ascended quite well in music, this family, you know. A lot of theory music and in exams and British people coming to examine you on piano and things like that. We did a lot of that. Thing is that I said, yeah, I loved it. That's good. And they said, so do you like music? I'm like, yeah. And then from that moment, they went, so actually, if you like music, we're going to do a school production. Would you like to be in it? It's like, what does it mean? I'm going to be singing on stage. Yeah, great. Let's do it. And then suddenly the whole school sees this guy that is actually he's always the disruptor in class, but now he's got this talent up on the stage. These days, I hope that, and I do know that NCEA was a good start toward giving people grades for talents that may not just be purely academic.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for that. But it was a moment where suddenly I was valued in the school and people would talk about it. And the other one was rugby. So not the greatest rugby player, but I got really good at that. And suddenly, so I was at school to do music and rugby. And I often say, eventually dating girls,
Yeah, it's interesting that it's a great example of an ADHD, undiagnosed, finding their talent and actually being a genius at it. But school doesn't really nurture that very often. And then the self-esteem goes first. And so then you just have so much imposter syndrome, so much self-doubt. But I'm really glad that you found your thing, but albeit it was in like 5th form. So, enough damage was done by that point. No. But you were also very loved by your teachers, right? Even though you were disruptive, you had a bit of a charisma to you. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that I never really, and I still today wouldn't hurt a flyer of, well, I would, but you know what I mean? I'm very kind and we were, my whole family is that, the values of kindness was always there. So in the class, there was an instance where one day we were doing maths and I just couldn't stand it, and it was silent.
Oh my God.
And it was summer. And I'm like, I'm sitting there going, So there was a John Denver song that was on it was number 1, I think. No, close to number 1. And it was called Country Boy. And a lot of people will know this worldwide if you're older. But it starts with clapping, as if you're in a barnyard. And he goes, well, life on the farm's kind of laid back, ain't much an old country boy like me can hack, right? Now, all the old people will know that song. But anyway, I was doing this. I said, come on, everyone, start clapping. Now, all these students are sitting there trying to do this maths exam, and I'm doing this. And then I never forget the teacher, and he was strict, Mr. Collins. And the whole class is clapping with me, and I'm singing this great country song by John Denver. And then he comes in, and he wants to be angry with me. And he comes in, and he goes, Howard, and you can see him, and he's just thinking, this is hilarious. I mean, this is ridiculous. But he has to hold the pose,
Yeah.
And so, and I'm ripped out by my ears, and I'm down to the headmaster's office, And here's Mr. Collins saying, he was singing a song, he incited the class to clap, and you can see John Ryan, a great principal, loved him. He just died just recently, unfortunately. But yeah, John was. You could see on his sort of like, this is Harvard again, and it's harmless, and it's creative, and gutsy.
Yeah, it is.
But what did I have to lose? We didn't actually have the cane, and we were the first school in New Zealand to experiment to have no corporal punishment.
Oh, that's good.
So we didn't. I got strapped at intermediate for disruption. You know, we used to have that strap. Canes, my friends that went to other schools like Taradale High School that I mentioned, they were getting caned. They had come back with big welts.
That's crazy.
But our school actually could only do things like detention. So I knew that I'd be going to John Ryan's office, Mr. Ryan's office. I'd be made to read a book about behaviour. I couldn't read that book.
You didn't want to be in maths anyway, so. Can you tell the story of pressing your things up?
Yes, another great one.
And then you got to tell the one about emotional regulation, about how that guy who
the lunch.
Oh, do you really want me to?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to. It's just interesting context, I think, is what you were like as a kid. You were harmless, but then there's these funny little moments where it's classic ADHD.
You're just trying to find the dopamine.
Yeah, in hindsight.
Let me just, before I do that, I think, and maybe this is for a later minute in the podcast, before I tell you these stories, everyone, we've got to, and I think what you just said is the classic ADHD. When I was diagnosed, finally, my psychiatrist, who was your psychiatrist after me, you know, he told me that he was going to ask me 300 questions. You know, that's one of those methods. There's different methods of ADHD diagnosis. This is one that's 300 questions that you get thrown at between 5 and 10. Did you do this? Did you sit on the mat? Could you do this? Did you play sport? Did you sing while you're playing sport? Oh, did I what? Anyway, and he said, I'll put it into the computer and over a few days it'll come back from the computer in Harvard or university somewhere in America. And it tells me whether you've got ADHD and what medication you want. We need to give you, if any. When he got to the end of the 300 questions, which takes 90 minutes, he said, he puts his pad down and he goes, Grant, I told you that I was going to put this in the computer and see if you had ADHD. He said, I don't need to do a thing. You're the worst case of adult ADHD I've ever met. Now, I burst into tears.
Yeah.
Not because, interestingly, that was an insult.
No.
That was actually the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because, as you guys know, it explains so much. And before I tell you those two stories, think of that context. Now, when you hear these two things I did, you'd go, well, you are the worst case of ADHD in New Zealand, you know, so, or that he's ever met, and he's international, that fella. But, you know, the other thing is that I wanted to say this too, that listening to and the work doing this podcast, there's a lot of stuff going on out there with, you know, everyone's starting to see ADHD because we're finally sort of recognizing it and people are getting what they need. And I think there's the misunderstanding of, you know, everyone's got ADHD now and sort of things like that. And, you know, people will even say to me, you know, hey, Grant, you got ADHD. That guy over there that's been the clown, you know, has he got ADHD? And I always say, I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue, actually. Everyone needs the diagnosis properly. You either have that lack of dopamine in your brain or you don't, and to different degrees, and it might be ADHD anyway. He might just like having fun at a party, right? But I think what I wanted to say was that it's not the outward external world that we need to worry about. What you're doing is, and what I think is happening is that you're helping so many people inside them to just actually, if they just accept themselves and just go, oh, there's an explanation. Now, I didn't have that, so I just wanted to say I love the way that you are just saying we're not doctors, but hey, you may not have to be so hard on yourself. Maybe you could even love yourself again. Maybe you're not the imposter that you feel you are. All of these things are true of me, so I'm loving what you're doing. So, of course, I'm dead. I'm going to say that, but no, but I think it's really important to make sure we don't get, or you don't sort of get the stigma out there of sort of like, oh God, everyone does something wrong. Oh, I had ADHD. You know?
Yeah.
These two stories are when I got kicked out of one class when I was about 14, and in those days you had these doors in the schools that had this sort of the slot that had the glass you could look through. And that's so that you don't smack someone that's coming through the door from the classroom. Right. And so I got kicked out of the class. You know, get outside. And so stand outside the class, somebody's standing there bored. And there were some girls in the front row inside this classroom. And I thought it was so bad.
No, it was funny.
And I just thought,
You're a kid.
I'm a boy too. You know?
You're bored
bored. And so I thought it would be funny to do a bit of pressed meat on that glass. Not a lot of meat, but yeah. Anyway.
Saveloy?
So I literally did. And these girls took a while to actually lift their head up from the work they were doing. And they look up and,
You've pressed your meat and 3 veg.
Yeah, my meat and 3 veg against the glass, right?
Yeah.
And they scream. They literally, literally scream. And I'm like, oh, doing my fly-ups and I'm standing there. And because I remember the teacher very well. And he comes storming along and says, what did he do? And they couldn't even say it. Like, he put it, because they're in shock.
Yeah.
And not from size. But anyway, he comes out and he was red with rage,
Yeah.
And I never forget, he actually did grab my ear. And in those days, I guess teachers could do this. And I was being dragged and it was hurting all the way to John Ryan's office again. And it was like, oh, it's you again.
You're back.
You're back. Yeah. What is it this time? It's like, yep. And then, but we talk about, I have in terms of, I think, Karen will talk about to me about how I have these extreme moments where I can look very calm, but I have a bottom line and then I explode.
Yeah, we want to talk about this at some point. We call it angry Grant, and this was what we experienced as a child with you as our dad. Sometimes, not often, but this really is important, I think, because it talks about, it's the emotional regulation thing in ADHD.
Yes.
And often, I think boys in particular, when they get to a point, it comes out in anger and they don't know how to regulate and process their emotions. And so I think this is actually really important to bring this up because this is a characteristic of you that that I would say is quite not often, but it is a trait of your ADHD where you're fine, and then you get pushed to a certain limit, and then you lose it. Not in a bad way, like I was going to say you'd never hurt anyone, but you'd tell the story.
There's this. There was this guy that decided just to pick on me, just with verbal, walk past me and say, you're a dick or whatever, and just. Even though I had friends that if they'd heard that, they would go, hey, what are you talking about? And I ignored it because I was quite sort of popular. I was in this little gang. That's another story, isn't it? But, yeah. And when I say gang, we just hung out and did some funny, stupid things. But then after a while, I thought, that's what he's doing and he's niggling me. So over a month or two, and then one day we're in the class and I thought, no, I've had enough of that. But I just sort of thought, I don't know, maybe I'd talk to him, maybe I'd, say to him, hey, you don't stop. I'd warn him, but I didn't do any of that. I just got more and more angry inside, but you wouldn't have known it.
No.
And one day we were in the class and it was raining. We had to go, we weren't allowed outside because it was raining hard. And I had my lunch on the desk and I was talking to the person just here and I watched him just start sort of without nonchalantly just slipping my lunch off the desk so it was going to fall on the floor. And I said to myself, when it hits the floor, I'm going to knock him out. And I'm not even a trained boxer, of course, but anyway, sure enough, I'm watching it and he's doing it and he thinks he's funny. And then it fell on the floor. As soon as it hit the floor, I sort of blacked out a bit. Well, put it this way, I actually knocked him out and he went over 2 desks. And this is out of the blue. No one knew why. They saw the lunch sort of drop and then bang, he's over there. And they're trying to wake him up. But I was in this I had to sort of come to as if I was unconscious. It was sort of like, and I kind of knew what I did. And they said, what did you do that for? I said, he's been niggling me, and it was like, and he deserved that. The guy actually, by the way, had a sort of he was pretty swollen by the time he came back it was a big hit. And I didn't like that. I don't like, that's not a good idea at all. But, the thing is, that was just a moment where there was no regulation. It wasn't, I think I was kind of masking, I was holding in.
Yeah, you were hiding how much was actually affecting you. Yeah.
And I think I did that a lot in my life. I had a lot of sadness, anger, frustration through being the student that's going to get kicked out. It's not that cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, the guy said to me, "Hey, sorry, I deserved that." A few days later, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. I'm like, I'm sorry, I really hit you that hard, man. But it was sort of, and I have those moments where there's so much pent up, hidden. I think there's a lot of hidden, not necessarily anger, but
just emotion,
frustration, emotion.
Yeah.
And there's the odd thing that will bring that out, and like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those sorts of things at schools. That's how I went through school. There was other events like the John Denver song. I went to the 25th anniversary of the school.
Yeah.
and the maths teacher was a man called Mr. Baberfold. And by the way, the 50th anniversary is this in October this year now. So this was at the 25th. Anyway, I saw Mr. Baberfold at hello, Mr. Baberfold, at this 25th reunion. Oh, g'day, Grant, and I said, hey, I'm really sorry about, I must have been terrible at school and I gave you such a hard time. I didn't mean anything. He said, oh, no. He said, no, it's fine, actually. Because of you, I gave up teaching. And I went, oh, no, really? And he said, oh, it's okay. It wasn't really cut out for me, but you actually proved that I just couldn't. It wasn't for me to try and control a room that you were in. But he said, no hard feelings. I knew you didn't mean any harm, really. You just couldn't concentrate. And today, if I went to the 50th now and those same people were there, they'd be probably able to say, Grant, did you get diagnosed? And that's what we were putting up with.
Yeah.
And at 58, I finally got that diagnosis. And when I took that sheet to the doctor and I'd faxed it through and he said, is this really you? Have you really ticked all these boxes?
Yeah.
And he said, because if that's true, I'm going to send you to the best psychiatrist in New Zealand because if this is true, and true it was. And then it explains so much.
Yeah.
So then got, did a whole lot of things like, played in cover bands. I played sort of weddings in 21st and while Justin and Debbie were doing their professional careers, but I like making the money. And well, they were poor most of the time in the early years. But then I met your mum. We got married. She was quite young.
Yeah, she was 19 and you were 24 or 25 when you met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at that point you were playing in bands and you didn't really, do you think that you never found your career that you really could have excelled in? Like what, because you were undiagnosed, how did that affect your career and stuff?
It's a great question. And it's amazing my career because all the jobs I've had, all the companies I've owned, the things I've invented, and I've failed so much as well. So sort of it's all equal. It didn't become, a Google owner, close, but no, we had plenty of opportunities to do so. So it's important to come back to that, I think, from the ADHD context. But my first job for 3 years was in a retail shop selling home appliances, and the things you've been talking about in the podcast about you'll break your neck to please a boss. You'll break your neck to please, say, a customer. You break your neck to do the job right. And as uneducated or lack of sort of, I could spell a little bit, use a calculator, so to speak. I'm not that bad, but I mean, I got enough out of school to actually just get away with writing up a docket, say. But, but what made me become the manager of that shop after no time at all is the sense of responsibility and the ability to be creative and not and think outside the square and sort of throw yourself at things. But all the while, when you get those promotions, say there, I'm thinking, what, me, be the manager? I'm only 19. Surely you're sort of like, why would it be me? And my whole life, I think I've always thought, how did I get here?
Yeah.
I don't deserve to be sitting here as the manager, or look at me now, I'm the top of the company I work for in New Zealand, and I've got a lot of amazing people below me with massive skills, and I'm the general manager, So I sort of think, how did I do this? It's like
you still feel like an
phony.
imposter.
Oh, you definitely feel it's a big thing.
Yeah, and I think as well because I would just want to interrupt. I feel like you constantly being told off in high school, and always feeling like the black sheep. I feel like that just created such low self-esteem and imposter syndrome. So then when your personality, and you do have brains, when that personality and brains did take you to good places, which it did, you kind of go like, how did this happen? Like, I'm tricking everyone.
Yeah, and also you're so charismatic and good with people.
Yeah.
On the outside, maybe inside you're dying, like I do. But on the outside, people love you. So I think that helps.
Yeah, your sense of humour has got you through a lot.
There's a guy at high school that doesn't feel that way. No, just joking. No, but yeah, and I can't please everyone. But yes, you're right. I was being a people pleaser, and I do like to, think and do the best for everyone if I can. But in terms of the career, I then got another job at building material supply, and I ascended up through there too. I became the national training manager. I'm sort of like be flying around the country going, mate, I haven't even got school certificate. Now, school certificate was third year in high school, what we call high school, where it was the big moment where you sit the exam as whether you're anything. And I think I got 50 for a woodwork or something because, again, I could source stuff and glue it together.
See, that's a talent.
Yeah, exactly.
But people don't, back then especially, it was not seen. Anyway, sorry.
So, and there I am sort of getting these jobs and actually getting and I think, Paige, you did right. The ability to be good with people means you get away with 70% of the task, I think. If you can, get people that come with you or believe you or work with you or know they're appreciated so they work well and then for you and then or with you. So then, and then I, quite sort of entrepreneurial as well. And a lot of the world's entrepreneurs are exactly like this,
Yeah, Paige is very much like you, where you will try things and you will give things a go, and you've done lots of things. You've got lots of inventions. If only you had the funding behind you, you would have made so many great inventions, but you just never had the money or exposure to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Paige, you invented something about the age of 15 with your FPOS card and said, why doesn't the bank let us code what each expense is and then get a monthly thing where you put a budget to say, I want to do this on movies, this much on Uber Eats, if it was Uber Eats back then. And that was genius, and now they do that. And it's something you thought about. That would be really handy for me to have. And I remember thinking, crikey, that's a good idea. But you were full of ideas. I'm not sure about you inventing stuff.
No, I wasn't. I don't have as much of the invention brain like you and Paige do. Yeah.
So then through my career, I always, I would just see what needs to be done and then end up being that person that gets the promotion. And as I say right now, I mean, I'm really, I keep saying I'm privileged to be the general manager of the company in New Zealand. We're 120 people, 70% of them in Australia. Our CEO over there is in Australia. He's fantastic. We... I just can't believe we got such a good job, if you like. Every day I feel really privileged, but also totally respected by the management team that's around me and my boss who believes in me. And I do jokes, which Ronnie, I just love the way that he'll laugh at my jokes, and they'll accept now. It's great. I can talk about ADHD. So look, guys,
awesome.
I'll just go and take another tablet. I think I'm doing too many jokes per minute, or hour, and it's great. And I think it's really good because they actually can see that they'll see when I'm actually disappearing out of the room mentally.
Yeah. And
actually now they get to the point where they do jokes with me, like when I might say something like they think is, God, that's a bit radical. Great, have you had your tablet? And
that's good.
And we're all safe enough to do it. It's like, you know what? A good point. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. And I'm kind of thinking that, I don't use it as a excuse to get something wrong. I don't use it as anything like that at all. And in fact, if you allowed me to get my time again, A, I'd love to be diagnosed at 5. And B, I wouldn't want ADHD. Well, I would want parts of it because it's part of this talent, or if you like, I don't want to say I'm talented, but what I mean is,
no, you are.
Some of the talents that I have carried me so much forward. And just on that, when I was diagnosed at 58, my parents had just died 2 years earlier.
Oh, it sucks.
Such a rip-off.
That they'll just never know.
I feel for you on that.
When I burst into tears as the worst that he's ever met, and we love this guy. I mean, it was more that I'd love to just go and say to Mum particularly, hey, there's an explanation for why I was the guy. Now she and my parents loved me, so there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
But they must have sat there when I was 20, when I finally sort of left. Well, I left home a bit earlier than that and rode away on my motorbike as fast as I could, because you have to. Everything's a hit, right?
Yeah.
They must have thought, gee whiz, that was a hell of a rowdy journey with that bugger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd love to have said, here's why.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And we weren't diagnosing it, let alone what AuDHD 2013 is when you first see the research coming. That's
I know.
Late.
It's so late. I know. I do really feel for you. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are around your age who have experiencing this as well, where their parents have possibly passed on and they're finding out now. It must just be such a weird grief to deal with.
Yes.
I feel like we should talk about your diagnosis then, because we've kind of naturally come around to it. So we left home and then mum was noticing more and more, because when we were growing up, we did make jokes about you and Paige, ADD, like we just used to say it as a joke, and because it would be really stereotypical things you do. And then when we left home finally, mum, it all came to the forefront as you said previously. And so what was the process like for you, and what was it like being diagnosed so late, and how have you found it like in your generation telling people? I know your workplace is good, but like what's it like being in the generation you're in and being diagnosed that late? How was the process for you and everything?
I think that in terms of people around me, I think this is what I was saying earlier. Anyone that is hearing, let's say they haven't got ADHD themselves, and they, or maybe they have, but they don't know. It's all quite new for society, you know, to see it so overtly out there.
Yeah.
Secondly, I didn't tell anyone for quite a while because I needed to work it out in my own head for a year or two, you know, like what, you know, it was a massive shift. So let's look at the diagnosis. So I get that. He says, you're the worst case. I'm going to give you, he said to me, you know what, I've got some Ritalin here. I want you to take just 10 mils so you don't drop dead with, you might be allergic to Ritalin. And he said, take that home and I want you to text me in 3 days' time and tell me if you feel anything. And only 10 milligrams was really weird. I said, take this tablet and then sit there and, you know, and then, and I'm like, suddenly, and it wasn't dramatic, but it was like, wow, I can see a spreadsheet and stay on the same row. I can concentrate on this. And hey, look, I need to get a coffee and go to the toilet, but actually I'll just finish this. And, you know, I talked about in the first, and then after that we started experimenting with the dose, you know, twice a day and blah, blah, blah. Now I actually have 3 tablets a day, but because the down of Ritalin, I know we don't really like talking about medication, but for me, it is
for
Ritalin.
you it works.
Yeah. And then I take a small one at the end of the day, just to, as my psychiatrist said, to give you some flaps like an airplane to bring the plane down steadily rather than hit the ground like that.
Yeah.
Because I would just collapse by about 5:30, 6 o'clock, where Ritalin had kept me focused like I'd never been focused before. I could achieve stuff. Used to talk about, you know, oh, well, time to go home. And I'd go to close the windows on my computer and there'd be 28. And as I closed them, I go, oh, I didn't send that email. Oh, that one's only just started. Oh, shivers, I was meant to send that spreadsheet to Ronnie, my boss, you know. And you close 28 things unfinished. And now when I noticed, though, when I got onto the right dose of Ritalin, I would close the spreadsheet when it's finished, send the thing that I was meant to send. I would think, I do want lunch, I do want a hit of caffeine, I still want that hit of dopamine, whatever that may be, a biscuit, of course.
Yeah.
But I would leave it and say, why don't I just finish this, get the email away, that's off my mind. And it was on my mind enough that I could concentrate on the fact that it needed to be done before biscuits got involved. Now, prior to that, it'd be, and Andrew, and kind regards, oh, I would love a biscuit. Bang, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then there'd be another window at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock that I'd like, oh, shivers, I didn't send that.
Yeah,
and I know, you know, it sounds bloody funny, but what was amazing to me was with the Ritalin, I was like, shivers, I've only got 3 windows open and I'm getting home on time, or, you know, I'm closing down on time.
Yeah.
But I could do things so much better in the order that they should be done.
Yeah.
The priority of them.
What is the priority? And then, no, don't leave now. Don't leave now. Finish it. And, you know, since then, by the way, I've got an ADHD coach recently.
I wanted to ask you about
this. That's a whole level of greatness again. And so what was it like in the workplace? I took a while to get used to what this new world was in my head, which was much more orderly, much more organized, sequential.
Yeah.
Yes, you do this first. What's the point of, locking the door and then of my office when I leave, when actually I was meant to take the rubbish bin to empty it, and I do this. Now I would say take the rubbish bin, go and empty it, come back, lock the door. I know it's a stupid example, but that sort of stuff. No, it's unbelievable, and I would hope that so many more people now, even if without
medication.
Sorry, even without medications, just you guys saying, "Hey, accept yourself a bit more. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's not. Go and get diagnosed." But you know what? Don't be hard on yourself. It's you're probably wanting dopamine, and hey, there's a reason why. It's physical.
Yeah,
you're not a dickhead. You're not actually mentally ill or anything necessarily. Although, of course, all of the stress inside an ADHD or AuDHD and autistic, of course, leads to an awful lot of inner
turmoil,
unrest, and self-hate, and I'm not good enough, and I'm an imposter. I don't deserve to be here. I know you've spoken about this a lot in the podcast, and so I don't need to repeat that, but it is totally true.
No, it's good to hear it from your perspective that you also experienced that.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think when you got your diagnosis, your self-love's improved?
It certainly did, but it's taken me a long time to actually own the moment. So if someone, like now, I'm getting to the point in I'm feeling a lot better at sort of work now by going, okay, I may not have done something that I wanted to do for someone, but I did these 22 things for everyone else. I would never think about those 22 in the past. I'd be like, shit, wasn't there a whole lot of things I meant to do? I didn't speak to John. That would be number 16. Now I've got them all organized. If I do let someone down, I still feel very proud that I helped the ones that I didn't. And it's a big difference there. There's a massive difference to accept yourself for the great work you did. If you didn't get to something in a day that you did it hard, like today, was very busy, there are people still waiting for answers from me. I actually now would walk out of work going, wow, but I knocked off a lot for them. Another day tomorrow, I will get into the ones that, people sitting there perhaps waiting. And I'm sounding like I'm important. I'm just saying I'm just a cog in the wheel, but I'm never thought I was important.
Yeah.
Never have, and I still don't.
Yeah.
But my contribution's important.
Yeah, and you see the positives and the
I've accepted myself a lot more, that I'm not an imposter. Someone put me here in this senior management role in this particular company for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it's important to know that. Don't doubt yourself. If someone gives you some accolade, take it.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for ADHDs to accept compliments.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. What do you think, is there a part of your ADHD, there's so much to it, but what's the one thing you've battled with the most in your ADHD? Is it imposter syndrome, or is it rejection sensitivity? Is it just your time management? Is it, what do you think you struggle with the most? What do you think's impaired you the most?
Yes, that's a great question. I think there's one clearly that Karen will probably talk about if she gets a turn on the podcast, and she will. But the completion, the lack of completing. So I was called, you talk about it at home, we used to say, we left the H out of ADD, and you'd see me do something, and examples are, just one quick one, Karen might say, hey, Grant, can you go down to the bottom freezer and get a loaf of bread, downstairs? And I'd arrive half an hour later and my car's washed. And she'd say, where's the bread? I've been waiting for it. I'm like, oh, that's right. And, we used to think, God, ADD, when you get diagnosed, you go, oh my God, I was doing all of that, not just bread. It would be leaving my keys. You just name the list for everyone, And so the two worst ones I had, I was also called the 90% guy.
What do today that you can put off till tomorrow?
Even that, I always say, well, I do today what you can put off tomorrow. But no, but the 90% thing is, and this has let my career down, even though I'm really pleased that I was able to get up and go, and I had a few massive setbacks.
You've done very well considering you're undiagnosed ADHD
thanks.
as well. Like, you've done amazing. Not
Did you
knowing.
know that I can look at the failures in my life and then some of the big ones in business and things, and I can look at all that was I went to 90%. And I couldn't find it in myself to do the final 10, and the whole project failed. Now, that even comes down in our home life to, and it is an amazing thing, even if I consciously don't mean to. Karen will bring home, or I'll bring home, we'll bring home some bags of groceries. It's like, I'll put the groceries away. And I'll only ever do 90% of them.
So there's one bag left.
One bag left. Or maybe half a bag.
Yeah.
And Karen will go, why didn't you finish this off? Now, this is before medication, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And what would have happened is I'm doing the job, like, a song would be nice to put on the stereo. Bang, gone.
Yeah.
And I'd see the stereo and think, oh, that's right, I was meant to put this DVD away. And then I would see, oh, grease, that's right. I've got a grease miss chain on my bike. So I'd be in the garage doing grease because I saw the grease DVD. And then Karen will see the groceries and go, are you going to finish this? I was called the 90% guy. Now, even in some of the biggest business projects that were failures for me that cost us everything we owned at one point, when I look at that now, I realize that I only left 10% on the table. If I just finish it off, sometimes it might be because you don't want the conflict. You can't stand what you really have to say to someone that needs to be said. So we become a little bit sort of two-faced, people-pleasing. Whereas other people, perhaps, and maybe not just ADHD, but someone with ADHD actually finds it hard to get that cut through. They'd rather run away and go into a cupboard and drink a bottle of vodka than finish with that 10% because it may offend someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all true.
For me, that 90% thing, I find it's because I've got the dopamine from it, and
I'm bored now.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. That's what I mean. Hey, a song would be nice to do these groceries, and I've just got that bit to go.
And then you forget about it.
Yeah. And look, that happens so much. And unmedicated. So at night, that's when that'll happen. I'll go and get it from the garage. Yeah, it's like, where is he?
Yeah.
And the shelves are tidied.
Yeah. What have you learned about yourself since diagnosis? Like, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself? And do you think you have realized you were masking a lot of your life, and now you look inward and you're like, oh, who am I? Like, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself? And then I want to get onto your ADHD coaching and how that's helping you.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I have spent my life not really believing in myself. Now, I've looked like a person that totally believes in myself. Yeah. But and I've got probably through a lot of situations and into situations that have been positive and progressive and upward and career-wise and stuff like that, never really feeling I was worthy. Never saying to the boss, I deserve a lot more money. What about a salary increase? Those words would barely come out of my mouth, maybe once or twice. Yeah. Even though, I could be the best performing there, I'd never believed that I was the person that really, if someone else got a Ferrari given to them, they deserve that, not me. I could have easily been the person that should have had that Ferrari. No one ever got a Ferrari, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that I learned that the imposter syndrome, with all the talent. Sorry, just excuse the fact I say talent. What I mean is everyone's talented.
No, everyone's got some talent. And I just mean
there's so much oppressed that I should have done. Yeah. And used that talent, believed in myself, and yet you'd stop short and say, "No, you get it." If the boss said to me, "Who wants to go to the conference in Las Vegas?" I go, "Oh, you go. You deserve that." Thinking, "Shivers, I'd love to do that." Yeah. And actually, they don't deserve it, but I've just got to say that they deserve it. Yeah. Right? And Ronnie took me to the conference. Thanks, Ronnie. So the thing is that what I learned is that, all I can say, if there's a kid out there that's 5 that displays anyone out there, but let's face it, if I was 5 and someone said, "Why can't go and sit on the mat?" Always disrupting the afternoon story with the teacher. If we could have known now, we would go, you know what, let's have a look at that. Yeah. He's just a bit bored with that. Yeah. He likes stories and he likes the teacher, actually. Mm-hmm. But he's not with us. Yeah. And there's a reason. And it's not him being a little shit. No. And that's the thing I've learned is that
you're not the little shit that you were told you were.
Yeah. I think humor is a big thing that we use. I look at comedians now and I go, good on you for being on the stage and being a comedian, because I know why you're there. Yeah. Again, and I don't know how they do it, but and I'm that person that everything has to be in motion, I think.
Yeah.
So, but medication allows me to sit still and get on with it and do it. Like today I made sure I took my tablets religiously because of the amount of pressure, amount of work. I did 3 videos for 3 clients doing testimonial videos, live. You've got to be on your case, along with staff meetings and some stressful ones. But they're not as stressful.
Yeah.
Because we just organised. They're organised pieces of activity.
Yeah.
Whereas non-medicated, they'd be really stressed. That would be a lot more disorganised.
Yeah.
People that work with me that may hear me say this might say, "Hey, man, you still talk too much. You still all over the place. You tell stories. I background the hell out of everything I'm about to tell you. I just have. But that's a real sort of flaw to watch.
Yeah.
And so, we'll talk about. Finally, Karen had been saying to me for years, your psychiatrist said to me, "You need an ADHD coach," and I didn't do it for the first few years. And Karen was right every time she said that, and she's coming from a place of it's going to help you, and God did it what, and yeah.
So you've started ADHD coaching,
yes,
and you've found that it's been very, very helpful for you, and this is more in a business context.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you could get a coach for all the personal things, but the thing is that I'm asking this coach, Mariam, to help me with my getting stuff done, the prioritizations and stuff like that. What's hilarious is, is every hour that we do, at the end of it, I'm going, OMG. Because stupid things like, that look stupid. And she said, no, they're not stupid. And I'm like, I know, but I should have known that. It's like, no, you shouldn't have. Because you got ADHD. The ADHD brain doesn't think like that. And just one example was things like she would say, do all your meetings finish on time? You go, say, why not? And then we'd explore that, and then to ask 5 times, but why didn't you finish it on time? And what it is an obligation none of us can finish. They have to say, I've got to go to a meeting, or I've got to catch a bus. And you go, oh, thank God for that. But you never bring it to an end.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm bad at that too.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm letting them down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm always the last.
If you said, hey, look, been great talking. I hope we solved it. Get on with your work. I got work.
Yeah.
Could we ever say it?
Yeah.
And she's given me techniques, which are, they're not as simple as just stand up.
Yeah.
No, they are language to finish the conversation.
Yeah, nice.
And it sounds silly because when she gives me these techniques, I go, oh,
This
I'm
sounds so
not
obvious.
intelligent enough. Surely I could have made this up myself. And then I can't wait to get to the next session because, and then we always have sort of a topic. So she makes you fill in this form. What did you learn? Did you apply that? Did you get some results? What do you want to learn today? And it's great because you can sit there and go, far out. The one thing I really want to do is stop talking so much in meetings. Now, any of my team listening to this will go, yeah, well, it hasn't worked yet. But but they don't know. But I've really made an effort to do this. And
nice.
What happens is I start talking like this, and just like not knowing when to finish the meeting, you don't know when to stop the sentences and shut up.
Yep.
And so by now, at this stage of the day, Marilyn's running out. So it would get worse. But the sense to justify conversation is the worst. So the sense, if someone said to me, Grant, should we, do you think we should do a lunch? Or if I think we should do a lunch for the staff on Friday, but it will cost $300, right? And let's say I've got to get approved for that. There's many people that could ring their boss and say, I want to put a lunch on for my staff on Friday for $300. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
We go, great. And she might say, why? It's like, oh, it's a milestone. We just hit $1 million, or for the month we've never done it before. Oh, great, do it. I'd actually sort of go and say, hey, over the years, we were walking down the yellow brick road and start telling the story. And why do we do this?
No, I know.
Why don't I just ask the question?
I know.
I do that too.
Same.
So my coach.
I've gone to heaps of tangents. Sorry,
No, you're right. But I brought the stuff on it. But if I could just some of the things are just so effective for the ADHD brain, and so silly when you look at them and go, really? Like there's this physical clock. So you got to get a physical timer, not on your watch, not on an iPad, physical. So I got this big round thing which you'd wind it to say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on this document, and nothing, no coffee, no
just anything. And you're way more productive?
And you know that this thing ticks. It's great. It's on my desk and it ticks. It goes for as long as that's ticking, I've promised myself to do this document.
Yeah, nice.
What the coach does with their kids is they are like you, Ellie, where it was amazing when she told me this because Ellie is the same. Her kids can't do their homework in their room. Oh, by the way, this family got into ADHD like you guys because they have ADHD. So now she's a coach, right? And her kids, and she says, and I hope Mariam doesn't mind me saying this because one day you might interview her, but the thing is that she will then, the kids will say, they do this pact where it's a deal that for 30 minutes they're doing their homework and she's doing her work. They sit at the kitchen, there can be a noise, the TV can be on.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily silent, but it can be. But because they all have a pact together, and that they've done this 30 minutes agreement,
body doubling,
everyone gets it done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is just so sensible for me. That is so, and my daughter Ellie does that. And isn't it strange how you can't work in isolation easily?
Yeah.
And so the clock helps me when I'm isolated. It's this sort of a contract with the timer. And as you said, it has to be physical. Otherwise, electronics, your brain doesn't believe the electronics.
No, it's not there.
It's not real.
Invisible.
Yeah. It's very true.
These are the things that I'm learning through this coaching, and
that's awesome.
And there's other things as well, but it's just
overall, if you were gonna, if people can afford it, you'd recommend ADHD coaching.
I definitely, and I'd certainly, I can't speak more highly than this one, but
that's awesome.
But the thing, I'll give you a silly thing, and it's silly, but this is why it's not silly. She said, where do you feel closure? What symbols that are physical in your life that it's the end? I said, well, it's funny, I drive into my garage at night, and when I finally hear my car stop, and we have a garage door, and it comes down and I always think that's the end of that day, and it's the start of night at home, right? She said, great, okay, so get a photo of that door, almost finished, right? And when you have a meeting, you get that photo and you keep looking at it and going, when's the moment that it's the end of this meeting?
Oh yeah, nice.
Just weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really
not gonna
strange. It's not going to work. Yeah. But it's really weird because
it's like a visual cue.
It's a visual cue to tell you that this meeting can't last forever.
Yeah. You
have other commitments. They don't need any more than you do once you've found your solution.
Yeah.
So when you see that image, and keep it in front of you, say, where we're heading? We're heading to close this meeting, not keep talking the meeting.
Yeah.
So the conclusions are mine before you start, and you sort of go, God, that makes so much sense. And then the cue is physical, and it has to be physical.
Yeah.
She said that ADHD brain doesn't really believe, or it's not so much believe, but it doesn't really register all the electronics in the world, task planners, whatever. She said to me, did you like a diary that you could write in? I said, I love my diary when I could write it. I could write the list of the day, prioritize it. She said, why don't you do that now? I said, well, we're an IT company. I was like, got all the tools, Outlook, tasks. So she said, no, you go back to the book and and Paige, you create your own books. Yeah. But the day that you pick up the pen and make that tactile, and it sounds so silly, And
but no, certain brains work that way.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's awesome that you found someone who's helping you just work with your brain, not against it.
Exactly.
We've been working against our brains our whole life because of these systems that aren't made for us. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
We should probably wrap up soon because we've got ADHD is listening, and this is getting long.
Bless them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have just two more questions, and these are sort of like listener questions as well. What would you say to someone who's around your age who hasn't been diagnosed, but maybe they've got kids who are getting diagnosed, they think they could be, but they say, oh, it's too late though. It's too late to get diagnosed. What would you say to them as someone who got diagnosed in your late 50s?
Yeah, thanks, Ellie. I think that's an amazing question because I do have people around me that know, and I'm very open with them as to how it's changed me and how much I really think that they would do themselves a massive favour and their family and everyone else around them if they did, and yet they do say it's too late. I would say this, that if I was 68, I'd want to do it as well. I think every day is a far better day now, knowing for everyone around me as well. But I've solved. It takes a little while, overnight. You don't just suddenly get solved, right? Because you've got 63 years of going to the garage to get the bread and washing your car instead. You still have those
you
traits.
Work
yeah,
and
this is why coaching is really important, because it's the behaviours. Ritalin can make you focus and keep you organised a lot more, but you still need to know that tomorrow there's a plan needed, and Saturday you need to be a lot better planned. Whereas I relied on Karen mostly to do that, as you know, and we probably all did. Oh, no doubt we did. But I think if I could really encourage anyone and any child that thinks that, hey, Dad or Mum, go and have a look. I think it's the best favour they'll ever do for themselves. Wouldn't it be great if they went and had a look and they went, no, you're fine.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be also great if they went, whoa, you're 19 out of 18. Let's do something about this.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy out there called Grant who can't believe his life now that he did.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely recommend it.
That's great
unbelievably.
Advice. Yeah, great advice. And then sort of in the same realm, people who are your age in your generation, in the baby boomer generation, or even maybe Gen X, who may have got a diagnosis or they're wanting to get one, but they're worried about what their peers are going to think, because it does appear that it's being overdiagnosed and it's just a label and blah, 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 blah. Do you have any advice of how you would share that with people of that generation or people who don't believe in these diagnoses?
Yes.
Do you have any lines or things you say?
I hope if there's one thing, if anyone can be helped by what I'm about to say, I really hope, and it becomes really simple. And I know you talked about it in some of your early podcasts, if not lately here and there. But, there's one comes to mind when I said to this person, wow, it's just changed. You know what this is? I mean, you wouldn't believe it. I'm similar to you, blah, blah, blah. Do it. I'm too old. Is that... I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Exhibit A.
Bloody Ritalin when it runs out.
Yeah, it has really run out.
It is. I can feel it. It's just going on me. But what was the question?
The question is, do you have any advice or lines or anything that you say to people who are of the generation who don't believe in the diagnoses? Like, what do you have? How?
Oh, yes, that's right. I got it.
Got him.
That's great. And this is an excellent question. That's why it became so important. So I backgrounded how important it was.
You're doing it again. Hurry up.
Get the answer out.
Now, what was it? Yeah, no. So, no, this is the thing. I said to this person, hey, I want you to know one thing about this. It's a purely simple thing. It's a enzyme in the brain called dopamine.
Neurotransmitter.
And sorry, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
my day, I didn't know what it was. So
Yeah,
thanks. It's a neurotransmitter in your brain. It's called dopamine, and it's a physical thing, and it's not anything but there. It either exists as something physical in your brain, like that neurotransmitter, there or there or not, and that's all it is.
Yeah,
So why don't you just find out?
exactly.
As opposed to what society is starting to, and I'm not blaming society at all. I think I love the society that's accepting that people should go and get diagnosed. And as expert as we might feel, I never say to anyone, because they might say, do you think I've got ADHD? And it's like, hey, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Please do it properly.
Yeah.
Please do it properly. Because when you think about it, despite all the behavior, if they've got adequate dopamine in their brain, they probably haven't got ADHD.
Yeah.
They might have something else.
Yeah.
But they probably haven't. Maybe they are just class clowns naturally.
Yeah.
So you can't decide what it is, and don't ask me just because I've got it.
No.
And so the first thing, the one thing I would say to anyone my age that feels a little bit, how embarrassing, or nah, I won't do it surely, and just to deny.
I don't need a label.
I don't need a label.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's common. Is just find out if that little neurotransmitter is doing its job for you or not. Now, if your heart was getting out of breath, you'd go to the doctor and say, you know what, I just don't think my heart's pumping or my lungs somewhere. You would do that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just go and find out if this particular one ingredient of the body is short? And even if you don't want to fix anything, find that out.
Yeah.
If you really feel, actually, I do that. I go down and wash the car and then end up doing the shelves, and 4 hours later turn up back in the kitchen when I'm in, whatever. Just do it.
Yeah.
If you can. I know it's getting harder and harder to get the diagnosis.
But even learn about it. Like listen to podcasts like this one and just learn about it and see if you relate to it, because it can really help. And like you say, it is kind of simple. It's down to like lack of dopamine in the brain. And then all the different behaviors off that look very vast, and they are very vast, but really it comes back to one root thing, and it's that neurotransmitter that's lacking. So I think that's great advice. So it's really quite simple. It's not as quirky and weird as everyone's making it out. It's just...
It's like you said, use the heart thing. It's like a broken leg. Why we treat a broken leg like so seriously? Like, yes, you need to go to the doctor. Why is it not the same thing for ADHD or autism or mental health? It's like this big thing that's
as if you're at fault, as if you've got a fault, as if you've got something psychologically wrong with your person.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's a thing. Thank goodness that we, for me and you and others, and the people that write to you and say, oh, wow, this has really helped me. I mean, for every one person that could say to you two, I know you're not doctors, but man, I identified with what you said. I went and got diagnosed. Oh, my goodness. Now I'm achieving, or whatever it is for them. I can do my study, or I'm better at my work, or my boyfriend says I'm so much nicer to be with, whatever it is. Can that not be just positive from finding out whether your dopamine's right or wrong?
Totally.
Yeah, exactly.
It's please do that. Yeah,
love it. Now we'll probably wrap up, but you did, bless you, Dad. You wrote some notes, and did you get to everything in your notes? Is there anything we missed?
I think I did. I think that, I was saying about the social situations that I would appear the most social person in the room. I actually, like you've been talking about it, I'll go home exhausted, having actually, and I've often felt that people have taken, I'll look like I'm giving everyone, I've talked too much. The other one, I leave exhausted, swearing to turn down the next invitation is something I've read. Yeah, it's hard to believe that, because people that know me think, oh, he loves to party. Actually, when I get to a party, I typically sort of pre-diagnosis, although it's a habit really of partying, why did I drink more beer than anyone the first hour?
To cope and get drunk to cope with it.
Yeah, and get that. Everything's a hit. Everything's a thing.
Like a dopamine chasing thing, or
it is. And then the other thing I just wanted to make sure we did that I did of these notes I made. I just sort of wanted to go back and think, what was I like? Things like I must have fizzy water. I can't have normal water.
Yeah.
Everything's a hit.
Yeah.
Music must hit me in the gut, turn it up and go bang, Now, everyone loves music, and people like loud music. People like music that hits them in the guts, right? Yeah. I'm not the only person that likes Rage Against the Machine, right?
Yeah,
Let's say, or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But it is true that we will do this on a higher percentage than most people.
Yeah, you're very, very sensory seeking.
Exactly.
Constantly, yeah.
Coffee's to be strong and things like that. And then I can, like you do know, where did I get to where I got to because of how did I do it? When something's important to me and I like it, and most humans will say, that's all it is that I can really nail myself to it.
Yeah, you can hyperfocus.
Yeah, hyperfocus. And I can see now people like, some of the great leaders of the world that are really quite, wow, he's what do we say, buzzy,
Yeah.
Oh, he's
exactly.
That's a little dopamine problem.
Yeah, exactly. But then if he uses that dopamine to its advantage, then
like you find your passion and then you use that, then it's actually I guess that's why I think people get annoyed when people say, oh, it's a superpower, and I understand why people get annoyed because the struggles you go through, but I get what people mean by it, because when you find your passion and you use that dopamine seeking on your passion, I do get that saying.
Totally. And when people around you accommodate you and environments accommodate you, you can be honestly amazing if you're harnessing your talents. But most of the time we get downtrodden in school like you did, Dad, and your self-esteem goes immediately, and then you turn into an adult who feels like an imposter, and it sucks.
Well, absolutely. And I think we not only get downtrodden, we tread on ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think, there's a great thing when these terrible jokes that have terrible punchlines and they'll say, I'll see myself out. We actually feel like that all the time. Like, I shouldn't be here, so I'll just slip out the back door. You guys are more important than me. But that doesn't mean that you don't join them. The funny thing is, it's an extreme, isn't it? Let's say there's a party, a drinking game. I hate to say, now let's not use drinking games. So 70s. But no, what I mean is if there's an activity to do, you're in. You can do it, whatever that may be. If that's action, right? But socially, you're not necessarily wanting to be in that social environment.
No.
But you look like you're the one that does.
Yeah, because I think we spend our time dopamine chasing. So it's like either making a joke, making people laugh, having a drink, having a cigarette, abusing substances.
Lighting a fart at a party.
Lighting a fart, that was my specialty.
Dad lights a fart.
And actually, we didn't talk about smoking. Oh, I did talk about smoking.
A little bit,
I
but
smoked for many years from a very early age. But again, it's just that thing.
Yeah.
And so we're actually quite tricksters, and we're quite phonies actually, in the not in an ingenuine sense, but we act. Yeah. We act in society and we perform in the moment for all sorts, and it's never really our own agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't. It's not really. I don't think. I mean, I think great things for ADHD is music. I think when I played in bands, it's one thing that you can practice songs, get up there, sing, perform. It's action. That's a good thing. Yeah. But that's true of anyone that wants to play the guitar. This is the problem. You don't want to say that it's only for it's more important to ADHD. Yeah. It is important to do something. And I think solitude and things that are done with solitude is really quite highly revered for ADHDers. Yet I need house music going boom, 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 boom when I'm working. And Karen will say, how can you work with that music? It's like, I only work because of the music. Yeah. If I turn that off, I won't work. So it keeps me. Yeah. Because it's a hit.
It's keeping your it's keeping your dopamine up.
Yeah. Everything's a hit. Everything's a hit. Everything's a hit. And on that note,
thank you. Hey, thank you so much, Deb, for your time.
Thank you.
This has been such a good chat. We could talk for hours.
We could, couldn't we?
I feel like we could do another whole episode with you, to be honest. But
maybe in a year I might have some new material.
Yeah. But thank you. We love you, and we really appreciate you being really vulnerable and open with everyone listening as well.
Thank you.
And hopefully people have got something out of it. I'm sure they will have, especially the people who are sort of from your generation and maybe slightly younger. Hopefully this has helped them just not feel as alone.
Well, thank you. And as I said, it's just a great privilege to actually sit here and help, I hope, but also just be invited to tell from my point of view. But also, as I said, what you're doing, is so great to think that there might be, and let's face it, young people particularly, doubting themselves, and maybe from the podcast, so sort of go, actually, it might be something. It may not. I might not be that dickhead that someone says I am.
Yeah.
So bless you two for doing that. Doing this, and long may it continue.
Thank you.
And I couldn't be more proud.
Thank you, Dad.
Thanks,
Thank
Dad.
you. We love you, and we're very lucky to have you as well.
You too. Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for listening to this. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you want us to chat to Dad again, if you've got more questions that we missed. And next week, we will be doing an episode of an ADHD screener, which is going to be really interesting. We want to kind of break down the limitations of the screeners and sort of analyze some of the questions and what they actually mean. Yeah. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.